What are the best essential oils for the solar plexus chakra? That's exactly what we're going to discuss today. Welcome to our Sixth Sense series. Myself and Elizabeth Ashley are diving in, and we have each chosen our three favorite essential oils for the solar plexus chakra. How are you today, Liz?
Feeling very yellow today, I feel.
Well, that's quite appropriate considering it is the color that is associated with the solar plexus chakra. I remember once actually when I was asked to teach a chakra class to some spiritually aware 8 to 12-year-olds. And when I was first asked to do this, it's not something I normally do. I was like really wondering, how am I going to explain these energy centers to, younger individuals? But I found the solar plexus one a really beautiful way to explain. I said it's like our sunshine. Of course, it's located at the base of our sternum, and I said sometimes it's a bit overactive and we blind people with our light. Sometimes when it's underactive, we hide that light from the world. But what we want to do is we want to get our solar plexus chakra so we can confidently shine in the world, and we encourage other people to do the same. And I think that's always been my favorite analogy of the solar plexus chakra as being the center of where we shine brightly, where it's about personal empowerment and, encouraging other people to shine. And I think if we could balance the solar plexus chakras of all the world leaders, the world would be a very good place indeed. What does the solar plexus chakra mean to you?
Sunshine, exactly what you said, but also willpower, identity, digestion, fortification in the world.
So kind of establishing who you are? Yeah, and it's interesting as we move through the chakras as well. We do start with the base chakra. Now that's our primal base needs, and then in our last episode we talked about the sacral. That's kind of moving on. We've got our personal needs sorted. Now, how do we experience the world, and how do we interact with the world, and those intimate kind of ways? As we move up to the solar plexus chakra, it is kind of like the social energy chakra as well. It's how we shine in the world. Whereas the sacral might be a bit more how we are at home in that type of way, in those intimate relationships. So it is a really interesting one to work with. Now, we've talked in past episodes, but just to recap, that chakras will ebb and flow. They may have too much energy, they may not have enough energy, and they may just shine brightly. I kind of work on a bit of an imaginary scale. And depending on where your chakra is, and especially your solar plexus chakra today, I've picked my three oils to kind of go, well, this is good for this situation. So let me start a little bit with when we have an underactive solar plexus chakra. This is when we may feel shy. We tend to notice that we get dominated in group settings or in communication. We may feel that people don't listen to us, that we have nothing to contribute, and our light doesn't shine. And this may be in all aspects of life, or we may just notice that maybe at work this happens, or in professional settings, or with a certain group of people, you just don't shine. Here, my favorite oil to lean into is ginger. Now, ginger, I even got into the energy when I said ginger then. Did you notice? It's so empowering. I would actually say that ginger is it's at least in the top three. It's up there with cumin and ginseng for being very yang, very empowering. We use it magically to inhale ginger, to raise more energy in our lives, to help us to then put that out into magical intent type of thing. So it's very empowering that way. The other thing is, it's amazing for the digestive system, which is linked to the solar plexus chakra, because we often feel disempowered and our solar plexus chakra can suffer when we can't digest our life. There's something we're struggling to digest, and we're getting, butterflies in the belly and different things like that. Ginger really fires up the digestive system to kick it back into action, to warm it, and to bring that power so that you can tackle whatever life throws at you. And not only just tackle it, but ginger helps you to shine and it helps you to thrive. So I really love it for helping us to tap into the core of our energy. It is a rhizome, of course, or a root, and it really helps us to ground ourselves in our own personal power and shine in situations where we feel that we haven't been able to.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, for me, I would probably go for fresh ginger essential oil rather than dried ginger essential oil. Not that the essential oil is dried, it's from the dried root for solar plexus. But yeah, because it just has that sharp, fresh kind of zingy comeback, you know? I think with solar plexus energy, I don't know about you, Ad. This is something that I've been experiencing a lot, and this might be something to do with the social media algorithms. But when I'm watching my social media, when I'm watching YouTube, everything's like adverts going, "You're not doing this right. You're not doing that right. We need to transform this. You need to transform that." And by the end of the day, if you took it all in, you'd be like, "I can't do anything." And so as you're consuming information, if you're not careful, the environment will affect any one of your the chakras. And solar plexus in particular is about how successful you feel, how you feel you turn up in the world. Whereas ginger is very much about, well, first of all, it fires the fuel of Van Yi, so it helps you to metabolize information in a healthy way, as well as metabolize food. But also, it's that internal combustion of energy through the body anyway. So I think that any kind of sort of chakra work, if you're looking to boost energy, ginger will always be really good. But I really, really like fresh ginger essential oil for the solar plexus
Do
chakra.
you find, because a lot of the time when people are purchasing ginger essential oil, it will just say ginger essential oil. Is the majority of ginger from fresh ginger, or is it more from the dried rhizome? Do you know?
Dried from the rhizome, and so the rhizome isn't quite the same as the root. I don't think. I think they're kind of joining to each other. But yeah, for the most part, the one that you would recognise most would be dried ginger. Fresh ginger is much sharper, brighter. Well, you can imagine we've all chopped ginger up. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. I'll have to, and I'm guessing that normally fresh ginger essential oil is slightly higher price point as well, but worth looking out for, especially for this work, or no?
No, it's
Yeah.
not. So I'll do a bit of a an advert. So I write for Vine Vida in America. I can tell you now that Vine Vida sell huge amounts of very nice fresh ginger essential oil because I have it off them. So yeah.
Hmm, fascinating. So tell us, what's one of the oils that you love for the solar plexus chakra?
So, I thought was interesting is normally you're the one that goes, I'm going to collect essential oils that come from colours, and I'm going to go like, and yours aren't yellow, and mine are all yellow this time. So I thought that was really interesting. So my first one, so yeah, you can all try and have a guess now what they're going to be. My first one is grapefruit. I just think that grapefruit turns up in the world. So, do you have a brand over there called Barocca, which is like vitamin tablet things?
Gives you back
Yeah.
your BB bounce.
Right. So our video has like people jumping between logs, and it's like it's you, but on a really good day. And every time I go, but that's grapefruit oil. Yeah, it's just like I am so on there, I am so out there, and I can achieve. And whereas we talked last week about orange being about how I appear, I think that grapefruit's very good about going, witness me in my power. And I don't care what you think about my power. And I think that I don't care is a really strong attribute to be able to foster within the solar plexus. And of course, if we think about how the chakras go are connected to nerve plexuses, but also to actual organs in the body. Think about how great it is for thinning the blood, which is a liver action, how good it is for breaking down fat, a liver action, how good it is for digestion, a liver action. It's all of its like physical energy is garnered at this same place of the solar plexus. I love grapefruit oil.
Mm. And I remember when we were discussing it in our Fellowship of Essential Oils episode, you really talked about its sassiness and that it almost brings that confidence to shine because it's not worrying about everyone else. Is that right?
Yes, it does not give a stuff. And actually, so really, in a way, that really is me on a good day, because I do have the capacity to be like that because I am Aries rising, but a lot of the time my Cancerian just goes, no, hide. So that really is me on a good day, but it's got such a strut in its stuff, you know. And if you think about, like, the physical things that it does in the body, you know, it breaks down cellulite, so you have this beautiful, like, toned legs. And so I can wear my shorts, I can wear my hot pants. Everything about it goes, yeah, get out there, enjoy life. So just from a safety point of view, just really be careful with this one. If you're already on blood thinners, incidentally, it can be photosensitive, so use really small amounts. Do not use old oils, so maximum 3% dilution. Don't use any old oils. And if you are going to put it into a blend, make sure that you use an antioxidant. If you don't know much about that, have a look at our video that we did last week about the sacral chakra, and I go quite in depth in that.
Beautiful. Now we talked a lot about, okay, different oils. Ginger would be great. Grapefruit would be great for helping to boost that solar plexus chakra if we're feeling a little bit shy or we're not shining bright. But there can be instances, and I know my solar plexus chakra is one of my stronger chakras, where sometimes we can dominate. We can overshadow and maybe be a bit, signs of a overactive solar plexus chakra can be dominating, can be bullying, can be workaholic because you have to do it all because you're a bit of a perfectionist because no one else can do it the right way because your way is right. So you're inserting your influence on other people. Now, if that's the case, we often think about some of the words that I've used then, like bullying and perfectionism and workaholism. They're negatives, but hey, if it's us ourselves, we go, well, I'm just trying my best. But if we need to reel that back a little bit and allow maybe and trust other people to shine, this is where I'd reach for lemongrass. So lemongrass we know is a great physical detoxifier, and often what an oil does physically, that translates into the metaphysical. Now think about lemongrass. It's long blades. It's like a sword, and it helps to cut away unwanted energy. So I find with lemongrass, it's a really great one to use for the solar plexus chakra for help us to get a little bit clear on why we're maybe not trusting, why we're feeling that we do need to dominate, why we're not letting anyone else shine. Often, an overactive solar plexus chakra can emerge from low self-esteem, which sounds a bit odd because it sounds like the person is cocky and overly confident, but sometimes it can actually be that they're almost kind of overcompensating. And I love that the clarity that lemongrass brings in to cut away those uncommunity or uncooperative um, effects or behaviors and help us to remember what really matters and to bring us back to we want everyone to shine. We want everyone solar plexus chakra to be, I guess, like 1,000 stars in the sky. We all want to be glistening and sparkling at the same time. So if you do feel that you are getting into, oh, am I, do I think everyone around me is a fool? Do I have to do everything myself? Can I not rely on anyone? If you're noticing those kind of statements coming up in your mind, I would actually look at your solar plexus chakra, work with lemongrass, and go, well, hold on. Am I actually creating an environment or where people can shine? Or am I behaving in a manner that dominates and allows people to dim their lights just because they feel threatened or overwhelmed by me? So I love lemongrass when that behavior kind of kicks in to settle that chakra down, to bring it back into a more balanced state so that everyone else can balance as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? You know, if you look at this sort of area of the body, as I say, it associates with the digestive system, in particular with the liver. And the first book that I released was called The Importance of the Liver, because when we're working in clinical medicine, the effects of long-term stress on the liver are profound. And one of the things that so the liver is ruled by Jupiter. And one of the things that you see with the energy of the liver is it doesn't like to be dealing with administration. And by that, I don't necessarily just mean like form filling. I mean like it wants to do a nice big project or one thing. So it doesn't like to be doing, I've got to do that, and then I've got to do that, and then I've got to do that, and then I've got to do that, got to do that. So the healthiest thing that you can do when you've got sort of that sort of depleted liver energy, which will always happen, for example, if you've got adrenal fatigue, is to delegate to somebody else. And as you say, that can be very, very difficult, because if this energy is dysfunctional, then you are controlling. You don't like to let go of the reins. For me, with lemongrass, I find that it always says to me, but what if? So I like it if I've got somebody come to me who you are, and we all have friends like this, and I have relatives that they'll come to me with a load of problems, and I'll go, well, have you tried that? Yeah, I've tried that. It won't work because, well, about have you tried that? Yeah, but it won't work out because that. It won't work out because that. And lemongrass goes, okay, so this is the deal. I understand that it won't work because of this, and you're quite right about that, and you're quite right about that, and you're quite right about that. But let's just consider for a moment that we could get past that. What if we could get past that? And it has this tremendous way of kind of going, okay, I'm going to ignore those obstacles and I'm going to give it a try anyway. And if you think about how an overactive chakra, I can't believe that you never use the word, because to me it's the ultimate word is arrogance. With somebody with an overactive, you can see them a mile off. They're so arrogant. They don't even think about what's happening to anybody else. They think that they're always going to be better than everybody else. How could anyone else perform? That's like almost the opposite action. So if you got it in a diffuser, for example, it's really naughty to have a diffuser around people who don't know what's going on, because they should have like rights about decisions. But what if I could do it better than you? What if you aren't the best at this and somebody else could do it better? It's really incredibly nice medicine. I like lemongrass for that.
It's almost when we say we need to cut someone down to size, well, get that lemongrass sword and get your chopper in the way.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean that's the thing, isn't it? With the bigger the solar plexus energy, I always say if somebody with an overactive solar plexus went fishing, you can guarantee that their fish would be this big. You know, then they were never going to catch a tiddler. It was because Jupiterian energy is always expansive, overexpressive, exaggerated, right? So this kind of notion of just kind of there's somebody else might be at play. There might be other things going on that you're not aware of. And they're not going to listen, are they? They're just not going to listen. So it would be very naughty to subtly manufacture an environment where they might have to have different brainwaves. And you may think that I've just suggested that, but I couldn't possibly comment.
You didn't make them walk into the room. The room just happened to have lemongrass diffusing in it. That's all I'm going to say.
Sorry to interrupt for just a moment. I hope you're enjoying this episode of Sixth Sense. Now, you're probably getting rather excited about essential oils, and you might be tempted to go out and just grab some. But did you know the essential oil world is not regulated, and a lot of what it says on the label is not governed by anyone? A fun fact, which is not so fun, is that 75% of all oils that are sold as pure, natural, or organic lavender are not even from a plant. So how do you know what's real? Well, I went looking for that question a long time ago, and I found doTERRA to be a really reliable source of high quality essential oils. They don't just test their oils themselves, but at the end of the process, they have an independent third party verify and double check their oils to make sure that you are getting what nature intended purely from the plant. They also source where nature intended the plants to grow as well. If you want to grab hold of some essential oils from doTERRA, then I offer a discount code, and this is available no matter where you are in the world. Now, I don't want everyone to get essential oils. I want everyone to use essential oils. So when you become one of my customers, you get access to me and my VIP education platforms, ongoing discounts, ongoing freebies, live classes in all time zones all around the world, and so much more. So if you're interested in getting some essential oils that you know are really from nature, and this is important not only physically, but metaphysically as well, please reach out in the links below.
You've got another couple of oils. What's another one you find is great for the solar plexus chakra?
So I think another word that is a solar plexus word, as I say, I alluded to it a minute ago, that solar plexus energy will become depleted after long-term stress. There's no doubt about it, because or dysfunctional, because we could also go the other way. Although if somebody keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger with the energy, eventually it's like the balloon pops and suddenly it's gone. There's nothing there. So eventually it will come down. But what you'll often see is if somebody's been working on a project for a long time, or just burning the candle at both ends, or just not looking after themselves, they will run out of stamina. And stamina is a real solar plexus issue. So we can talk about that, like from the point of willpower as well. From willpower comes like this ability to do the next thing, to do the next thing, to do the next thing, to keep going. And the best oil, I think, from that point of view, metaphysically, is fennel essential oil. And the video that I've done for myself this week is about the Greek learnings about fennel, which I won't go into here, but it's fascinating how it ties into the long-term effects of something. But on a physical level, again, digestion, fennel is all about digestion. So I love fennel.
It's really interesting about fennel. It seems it's not an essential oil that really gets too much attention. It does have a nice kind of licorice-like aroma to it. But over the years, the amount of mythological connections and magical ways that oil has been used, it really has been used with some real potency, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, that might be because sometimes the fennel that we see, particularly in Greece, is not the fennel that we have now. There was like a really giant fennel, I think it's called Siphium, then. And so it was like absolutely huge. Well, they're big now, aren't they? I mean, they grow to sort of 8 feet in my garden for sure. But importantly, they have a profound effect on the reproductive system. So one thing that we need to be aware of with fennel is there are loads and loads of contraindications because it goes through the liver so strongly, and a lot of drugs are metabolized in the liver. And so I will say to you, actually, we do have a video on the Fellowship of Essential Oils that goes really deep into fennel oil. So it's worth watching that for if you're worried about drug interactions. But also it mimics estrogen. So I had to get myself correct then, so I didn't say the wrong thing. But it acts as if it's like a phytoestrogen. So it's very good for supporting like menopause, but also male sexuality, because it balances the hormones. So if you imagine sort of eating fennel seeds or eating fennel regularly in a diet, you would see quite a lot of changes in the diet. So I can understand how historically it would seem to be like this superfood that brought mythology to life, really. Yeah.
Now, my favorite essential oil, or one of my favorite essential oils for a nice keeping that balanced solar plexus chakra, is one of our citruses. And I've noticed we've talked a lot about citruses so far in this series, but I love bergamot. I find bergamot is in its energy, and we've personified the citruses as we've kind of gone along. At a party of all the citruses together, you'd have your sassy grapefruit showing off in one corner and bouncy orange in another, and playful little mandarin and lime would be very zesty. And I find bergamot would just be kind of sitting in the corner, just chilling, kind of content. And it's probably my favorite citrus oil to use once the sun goes down, and even in the bedroom for helping us sleep at night. And I find that bergamot helps to bring real contentment. It's one of my favorite oils for self-esteem and self-worth. And I find just working with this oil and pairing it with some beautiful affirmation about your value and your light and what you have to shine to the world can really help you over time to feel better about yourself and to feel confident allowing your light to shine. We've discussed in the past about how breathing in essential oils is detected by the olfactory bulb, that goes through the limbic system, which brings emotional reactions, that then goes via the hypothalamus and talks to the pituitary, where different reactions in the body will happen within around 25 seconds, has been observed. One of them, when we inhale citruses, is that serotonin release. We just feel happier. We feel better. The sunshine comes out when we use citruses. And for me, who's at the worst month of the year in the Southern Hemisphere, August, at the end of winter, where I'm sick of the greyness and the coldness, this is where citruses really shine. And bergamot is a beautiful one to bring into your life, to work with that solar plexus chakra, just allow you to shine. Not in a dominating way that I was talking about with lemongrass, and not in a really yang, fiery way like ginger, but just shine. Just be who you are, content who you are, and happy with who you are. And so I love working with bergamot to really just maintain balance and to bring a contentedness to the solar plexus chakra.
Yeah, I can't really comment on that. I think that's actually you've hit the nail on the head. If I had to pick a keyword for bergamot, I would say contentment too. Um, it's one that's got so much clinical evidence backing it for depression. I think the only other one that I would say is like better now, and this is like personal opinion, I would say yuzu probably would be the one that I would go for if somebody was really, really depressed. But funnily enough, it's not an oil that I get on with that much. I do have it on the shelf. In fact, I regularly have it on. Have it a subscription that it delivers it to me every 6 months, so that I never have oils that are photosensitive because the monoterpenes have decayed. But actually, for the most part, most of it goes in a diffuser. It's not one that I really think, oh, I love bergamot, but it's a really important oil for exactly that, because I think if you look at somebody who is really depressed, yes, their outlook about life, about their prospects outside are bad, but for the most part, it's about that they are worthless. And that is definitely a solar plexus problem. And I think that it works very, very well. And I mean, that's the interesting thing about doing this work. You could say, well, okay, we've given you 6 solar plexus essential oils. In my sensorium approach, there's another 3. So you might say, well, there's 9. And you could do the diagnostics to say, well, I want to feel like I'm stepping out more into the world. And so I would go for grapefruit. But actually, for somebody who's really depressed, that's a bit like saying, I need the essential oils for doing the splits. You know, that you just don't go from being able to do the splits on one day to, you know, I can't do them till I'm absolutely flat the next day. You got to work your way up to it. And I think that bergamot is really good for people that have got real problems in the solar plexus area, helps them work up to being able to strut the grapefruit stuff.
Something we will cover at a later date is using essential oils to magically attract more financial abundance into your life. And bergamot, I will definitely be talking about with that one. But this ties in with the solar plexus chakras because often the world will pay you what you believe you're worth. So if you are looking at, wanting to shine brighter and be of greater value to the world, then bergamot is really great in that way. I also love that you have mentioned yuzu. It is another citrus oil that I would associate with the solar plexus chakra. There are some really interesting essential oils starting to come out of Japan, and yuzu is, I think, one of those emerging ones. There's another one called buntan, which is like a grapefruit or a pomelo that works really well for the solar plexus chakra as well. I find yuzu especially to be really great for when we feel it's a citrus that thrives in colder environments and grows in colder environments compared to where other citruses come from. And so it really helps us to shine when we're feeling oppressed or repressed in one way or another. So there's a little bit of bonus information about yuzu. I'm sneaking an extra oil in there as well. But I love the final oil that you chose as well, Elizabeth. You chose helichrysum.
Yeah. Well, so if you so chrism or chrism means oil. So like Christ is the one that is anointed in oil. So, and heli is the sun. So this is the oil that anoints you in the sun, which is, we're right back to the beginning of the cycle again. And when I was writing the book about helichrysum, it was just such a fascinating journey, full stop. But first of all, I'd come across, I think it was Kurt Schnellbaut had said it, and then Jade Schutz had reiterated how strange this oil came out of nowhere in the 90s. It came from, there's no history about it. It came into the public's imagination in the 90s, and then suddenly every aromatherapist was using it. Where's the history? Well, that was never going to be something that I could leave alone. And so I really spent a lot of time looking at the names of it. And I was like, oh, there it is in ancient Greece. And it was called the Helichrysum rather than the helichrysum, Helichrysum, and also the amaranth. And the amaranth was the sacred oil of Artemis, who, of course, is the huntress. And when we're doing this kind of work in bee medicine, the energy centers have got different names, but the one, the solar plexus, we call it the hunter. And so first of all, I was like, well, okay, that must be talking about Orion, but I thought, no, it's much better that it talks about how strong she was, how independent she was. And so there's a video, if you want to watch that on my channel, about helichrysum as Artemis, but also as Chiron. And Chiron is the wounded healer. And I think, to me, over time, my feelings about what I wrote have come deeper about this. And I talk about how Chiron's about the wounded healer, but the wound that makes you who you are, really. And I always think that, what's it called in Japan when they break the pottery and then they fill it all with gold, they mend it all with gold. I can't remember what it's called, but you must have seen it. So they have these beautiful cups and then they fix them with melted gold, and so it becomes this beautiful artwork in its own right. So it's still functional in the same way that it was, but it's the breakage that made it perfect. And I think that helichrysum, that is the power of helichrysum, that if somebody's been profoundly traumatized, or if somebody lives with a condition that can never be changed. And my example for that would be, and I use the word condition, would be a poor word, but if you think about somebody who's born as a twin, you will always be that twin, and you will always have that sort of aspect to yourself that cannot change. And that is part of of your experience of life, that you have this unique experience that nobody else can have. And in my book, I talk about the people who lose children. This becomes, you will never get over that. You have to be able to find a way to have the gold, and that becomes your way of living your life, but also helping other people. And I think that aspect of understanding a wounded identity and how that plays through the solar plexus, there's no oil that's even close to being as good as helichrysum.
Yeah, and definitely amazing for, I guess, healing those long-term wounds that would stop us from shining as well. I love that how you paired that with Chiron as well, because Chiron, who was someone who was unwanted by his parents, became one of the most sought after teachers and guides and mentors in their life. He increased his value, and we were talking about value as well, through actually savoring his wounds and realizing that his wounds became his gift. And that in astrology, when we learn to realize that our Chiron wound is our greatest gift, that allows us to shine even brighter than before. So I love all that, tying that in together. And I hadn't thought about Artemis in the solar plexus chakra, but I love that energy as well. So that's really powerful.
Thank you.
The breadth of different essential oils we can use for each solar plexus chakra is really extensive, and we had to narrow it down to 3. But at the risk of giving myself a bit of shameless self-promotion from my book, Chakra Balancing with Nature's Gifts, I just want to read out my list of all the different oils that I would find great for the solar plexus chakra. Some we've talked about today, and some you'll feel familiar with, but Aglaia, bergamot, Brew Branco, Cananga, chrysanthemum, cumin, ginger, helichrysum, honeysuckle, laurel, lemon, lemon ironbark, lemon scented gum, lemon myrtle, lemon grass, litsea flower, manuka, niauli, osmanthus, turmeric, white grapefruit, wintergreen, yellow mandarin, and good old yuzu as well. And that just kind of shows you the breadth of, there are all these different essential oils out there, and they all have different energies. And in our episodes, what we're trying to do is just give you a little taste test. But please check out our books, check out the other lessons that Elizabeth runs as well, and the other videos we have, and just play around with different ones. And I think you can really explore, because every oil has a different energy, and each of our chakras are out of balance for a different reason. You'll find the ones that work best for you. Would you agree, Liz?
Yeah, totally. And I think that on one hand, when we're working with, well, I'm going to have several hands now. I generated an image on AI, and this dancer had about 6 hands, and I was like, that's what I'm going to be like. This dancer with a 6 hand. But so on one hand, when we're working with the chakras, we can say, right, we're going on a physical level. So if you were to pick essential oils for the solar plexus chakra, then you are going to have to pick ones that are digestive. Then it opens out a bit more, and I work with chakras from the emotional level. So then we're thinking about the actual sort of thought process and emotions that go through our minds, and how that works. And that's how I work in my sensorium approach. And I teach you how to make decisions on your dysfunctional chakras based on your thought processes at that time, because of course they change through time. And some people, not everybody's born with like 100% good chakras anyway. If you're somebody who's been brought up in a situation where you were in a very abusive household and you are very frightened of life, there's no energy that can climb up, so you will always have that lower level. So actually learning to understand, well, what does 100% look like for me, because it won't be the same as 100% for the next person. So that's what the sensorium approach teaches. But then we can also go from a vibration point And of course, for the most part, we are talking about a vibrational aromatherapy a lot of the time. And there was a lovely study I was reading the other day about olfactory vibration. I was like, wait, what? That's a thing? Only proven so far in insects, but it looks likely that it applies in humans. So vibrational aromatherapy works on what's called quantum energy. So if we imagine that when we're talking about the physical body, we're talking at an atomic level, that the chemicals in the essential oil interact with molecules in the body and open and close receptors. So if we transfer that into the nose, and we say, okay, the molecules interact with the receptors at the back of the olfactory bulb. But if you imagine that the human brain can process 3 million scents, olfactory molecules, but we only have about 100,000 receptors on the olfactory bulb. We know that a lot of the receptors will process more than one olfactive molecule, so different scents. We also know that different scents will go to different molecules, but that still doesn't explain all of them. The maths doesn't add up. And in fruit flies, they've proven that what happens is the electrons, which are far smaller than the actual atoms, vibrate differently and are able to jump across like an energetic gap to get through much faster and to beat off the competition for the other molecules. So they've proven that olfactory vibration exists in insects and probably does in humans. So what that means is the way that we feel the energy of a field of an essential oil is just as powerful as if it was the way we smelt it and interacted with the molecules in our nose. So there's just a lot more going on than we can ever write on paper. So I think that's really interesting.
Oh, very much so. Wow. So there is so much to learn about each chakra. And as we wrap up this video in a few minutes, you'll probably see some other videos pop up and suggest how you can dive in a little bit more about some of the essential oils we've talked about today, as well as how you can use a pendulum to actually test your chakras as well. But while you're still lingering around the end of this video, all the action's down below. We want you to join the conversation and share your favorite solar plexus chakra oils with our community. And if you like this video, it helps to get our work out. And if you subscribe, then guess what? That'll help your solar plexus chakra, and it'll make sure that you find out about our next episode, which you're going to love, because we are talking about the heart chakra. Until then, take care and blessed be.
Bye-bye.
I'm Elizabeth Ashley, UK Director for the National Association of Holistic Aromatherapy and founder of the Aromatic Mystery School, where essential oils meet the deeper, more mystical side of healing. Here you'll explore the spiritual, emotional and energetic dimensions of plants and learn how to weave them into your own rituals and well-being practices. If you're ready to work in a way that nourishes both your soul and your senses, join us at the Aromatic Mystery School. The link's right below.